Hello and welcome to another Bodgit and Leggit video. Right, wasn't going to film this as you can see because I've already kind of started, but I remember I did get asked to do some maybe body repair videos from one of my Mark 1 videos, I believe. So what I'm going to do, I've got a huge dent, well not a huge dent, but it is a big dent in this body panel here. Now, you cannot get to the back of it to push the dent out. And not only that, what people don't realize is once you get a dent in your metal, it actually makes the metal longer. So if you imagine this is straight bit of metal, when you actually dent it, you actually stretch the metal. So even if you pull this dent out, and there's loads of different ways, you can use plungers, you can use all sorts, it will actually push out too much. You need to shrink the metal back. And there's a few ways of doing it. You can use a special hammer, a body hammer, and as it hits, there's special little grooves on it, and it actually kind of twists the metal and it pushes the metal back. That's one way. There's another way, which is a big machine. I don't have it. It looks essentially like a pointed screwdriver, and as you put it on, it puts so much heat into the panel, it actually shrinks the panel back. But they're ridiculously expensive. What I'm going to use to pull this dent out is a stud gun. I have to weld little studs on this, and I'm going to weld a few of them, maybe a bit too many or more than I need. And what that actually do is, I'll show you, that heats up the metal, and for this little dent here, it will actually shrink the metal back. But not only that, it obviously allows me to pull the dent out and to put a bit of fillers. If I was to try and fill this, you can hit a bump and the next minute half a ton of fillers could fall out the car. So you don't want to put too much fillers on a body panel. So I'm going to pull that out. At the same time, it's going to actually heat it and shrink it and fill it. Right, to give you some idea how actually, I don't know if you can see that, but there is a huge, maybe, well, nearly as thick as my little finger. That's how big the actual dent is. I'll see if I can just get you a slightly better view there. If I didn't sand it down, you would actually see the difference. Now you can see, I'm going to move my hand out of the way, you can see how much of a dent that is. It is quite big. Now we've got a lot of work to do on this car, as you can see. The whole side of it is caved in. I'm not going to be able to show you all that because it's going to take too long, and to try and film it is just, well, it's just going to take too long. So I'll just show you a little dent in the back and you'll get an idea. So all I've done first is just got some 120 sandpaper with the DA, and I've sanded it down. I need bare metal for my stud machine to actually work. Now, because we are welding something on a car, what we need to do is we have a battery protector. That will save me having to take the battery out. If you was to weld anything on a car without taking the battery out or putting a battery protector on, especially on a modern car, you can pop ECUs, you can pop everything. So it's vitally important you either take the battery out or you put some sort of battery saver tester, battery protector even on it. So I'm going to do that first before we get the old stud gun out. Now here's my stud gun. So that's the big gun there. You can see you then get a slide hammer, and what you maybe can't quite see is all these little studs. This is what actually welds onto the panel and allows you to get the dent out the actual panel. Really handy bit of kit. It's handy for loads of reasons, especially like now, I cannot get in behind this panel. Well, I mostly could, but the amount of stripping, I'm gonna have to take out seats, I'm gonna have to do so much work to try and get to the back of this. If this is a double skin panel, which I think it is, then you're not gonna get to it. So this is where a stud gun comes in. It saves you having to take all the door panels off or anything like that. You can just go and bang you away. So what it's going to do, we actually have two problems here. We have a dent at the bottom, we have a crease at the top. Now dents and creases are completely different, and I won't go into that in this video. I'm just going to kind of show you, but dents and creases, they are two kind of different beasts altogether. So what we're going to do, I'm going to weld some studs. Now I technically might only really need to weld 1, 2, 3 to actually pull out this dent. But because I know the metal is stretched and I don't have one of them really big fancy machines, welding it with the stud gun will do the same thing. Now, if this was a huge, massive dent, then it's not really proper to do it with the stud gun. But because this is just a little dent, I might have to weld 6 or 7 studs on here, and I know that's gonna crimp it in. Then we just put a skim of fillers over the top of it, and that's actually our dent done. So let's get the old studderoony gun out and start putting some studs in. Right, because we've got a crease at the top, I'm gonna maybe have to put a couple quite close to each other. The studs are very, very simple, as you can see. They just go in the gun. And as you can see, the gun is kind of spring loaded. And as I push against the panel and press the trigger, it has welded that stud on for me. Right, as you can see, there's a big hole in there because I basically messed up. Because wasn't my fault. Yeah, that's it. Hide. See? See? Yeah, that's not going to do anything. Look, running away, distracting me. Anyway, that's not a big deal. I'm going to weld that, but I'm still going to weld studs on the side. You'll get the idea what's going on. Right, it isn't the end of the world. I'm going to have to weld that and just go it back down. It's just one of them things. Just get distracted. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to weld another stud, and you'll see, hopefully, what I mean. So everything's pushed down. And as you can see, that puts a tremendous amount of heat. That there now is completely well done. If I was to try and pull this down, what I'd actually do is I would make a hole. That's how much that's welded on. They are really well done. And I don't know if you can see, you can actually see the heat haze that was around here. That has absolutely made that metal glow red hot, which has actually shrunk it. Now, I know I'm going to get some people saying, oh, no, no, it doesn't work. It does work, I can assure you. For a big, huge dent, like on the side of a panel van, no, it won't work. You'd have to just put too many studs on, it'll be a nightmare. But for essentially a little dent like this, it works perfectly. So what you do now is, now I'm gonna need a couple more studs on, but you're gonna get the idea. What essentially we're trying to do is not put a lot of fillers on. The least amount of fillers you can put on, the better. So I'm just gonna put this on. So that's now grabbed on the stud, and very gently, I say that, you just pop it out. And as you can see, well, the camera is going to be quite difficult to see, but I have pulled out the top part of that really quite well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a few more on, pull it out, I'll leave the camera on, and then I'll just put the ruler back up, and you can see essentially what I've done. There still is going to need to be fillers. Technically, I could put another stud here. I mean, really, the sky's the limit. I could end up putting 15 studs on this little bit in all different places to pull this out, to get it, 100% right. It just depends on how the dent goes and how it's pulling out. It just depends on a lot of stuff. Now, if you can see that is a perfect representation of how the metal actually gets bigger, actually stretches. If you can see that there, as I'm pulling up, the metal's just going back down, but as I'm pulling up, it completely bows out. Hopefully the camera is showing that. That's what I mean. That's what people don't realize when you actually get a dent, just how much the metal actually stretches is quite phenomenal. Now, what I need to do, I need to get another one in here. At the minute, we're about 85% there with them studs on. Now, there's a couple of ways you can take these studs off. I've seen people just rip them off, leave the hole there and fill over it. You don't do that, just don't do it. You can cut them off right here and leave the tab on. So as you can see, and then just grind that tab off. That's the way I normally do it. Sometimes you can get in behind them and actually cut them, but all I'm going to do is you cut them, you leave the tab on. I think there is special pliers you can actually get, but to try and save these, it's not worth your time because they don't weld back on properly. They're just a nightmare. They're designed to be used once, just use them once and kind of forget about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 more studs here. There's one. Get that one in. And there's the other one. Now, this is why bodywork just takes so long. I'm gonna have to now grind these little nubs off. I'm gonna have to weld that up. Wasn't my fault, bloody will. Anyway, well, I suppose it was a little bit my fault. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So I'm just gonna grind these little bits off, and once I've done that, I just put the roller back on and I'll show you just how much that has actually come out with no fillers at all. So all I'm going to use is a sanding mop on my grinder just to grind these little nubs off. Wear safety goggles because you don't want the bits in your old eyeballs. There you go. Right, now this part all depends on what type of job you're doing. If this was like an old classic car that you didn't want to put any fillers in, you know, you were getting paid properly enough to do it, I would be putting studs on for maybe the next couple of hours and banging out this and working the metal, pushing it in and just doing everything. But this is not that kind of job. What we're doing is we just want to get this flat so we can put a little skim of fillers across it. That's the type of job we're doing on this. Different cars, different jobs. It's as simple as that, and it depends on what you're getting paid for, and it just depends on everything. I can feel it. This is the best tool in the box by far, is your hand. I know we've got a dent there, we've got a dent here, we've got a high spot there, we've got a high spot there, high spot there, a low spot here. So we are up and down a little bit, but just from them few studs, we had what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, well 7 because that didn't really work. That is now, as you can see, the metal isn't pushing back, it's not spongy, it's nice and strong, it's bouncing like it's supposed to. As I'm pushing down, it's not just flopping back. So we've got the strength back in the metal and we've got the metal taut again. So if I was to put the ruler on again, as you can see straight away, we have got a little dent there, but not a lot. Very little there. Very little there, more or less straight there, and it's high spot at the bottom. So I now know, once I weld up this hole, I'm just going to get my hammer and I'm going to slightly knock in the bottom, and I can just put a nice skim of fillers all the way across that, and it's going to be perfect, especially for this job. It's going to be nice and flat. There's only going to be a small bit of, well actually I might just weld 2 more studs in there, I think. I'm just going to weld 2 more studs in there and just pull out this a little bit more. Yeah, because there's just too much of a dent there. Definitely 1 more stud anyway. 1 more stud there, let's see what happens. Now, even just by the looks of that, I'm a lot happier with that. I'm going to put 1 more there to move this stud out of the way. Well, looking at that, maybe being a bit picky, I'm going to put 1 more there. I did pull it out, but I just want to pull it out a little bit more. You got to remember, the better you do on this, the less fillers and the less work in the long run. But you do have to be careful, because if this was, say, like some sort of really rare car or classic car and you can't get a panel for it, you could be working on this for 2 days. But obviously that car, you'll be getting kind of paid for them 2 days. I'm not going to be getting paid. He's going to want his car back, so I can't be doing it on this particular car. And anyway, for me to spend 2 days trying to repair this, it'd be cheaper on this car just to buy this quarter panel and weld it on, because you can buy the quarter panel. So, you know, I know I'm going to get comment, oh, you didn't do this, you just spent long on it. This is just a quick repair. It's still going to look perfect, not going to be any problems. It just means we're going to have a slight light skim of fillers. If it was a classic car, I would be spending a lot longer on it, and I'd mostly be putting lead in it, lead fill in it, rather than obviously the old, well, not the old-fashioned stuff, but rather than putting the fillers in it. But that's not this car. Right. Yeah. There's going to be just a couple of mil of a light skim of fillers on there, nothing to worry about. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to get my welder out. I'm going to have to weld that up. I'm just going to have to do a little bit of work with the hammer. I can't put a dolly behind it, unfortunately, so I'm going to have to be careful with my hammer that I don't push the dents in too far, even though, to be fair, that is nice. That's a nice solid panel now, which is good. You'll know if your metal is stretched, because as you pull it out, when you press it in with your finger, it will just fold back in straight away. As you can see, I'm actually rocking the car by pressing that in, and it's just bouncing back out. So we know we've got the tension back in the actual steel. We just need to work that nice, get that nice. If I don't weld this, what will happen is, might take 6 months, could take 2 months, could take whatever, but eventually you're going to get this kind of circle crack here where the fillers is. So I'm just going to put a couple of spot welds over there, sand it back down, going to sort that. No point me filming that. You'll see it once I've grinded it down, you'll see that I've done that. So I'm just going to fill that, I'm just going to work this slightly with the hammer, and then we should be ready. That's another good thing about a stud gun. You can weld a stud on and it's a good earth for your welder. Now, as you can see, I've just spotted that. It's going to be still quite hot. Hope I've got it all. If I haven't, I'm just going to have to do it again. But we'll just grind that down, and that should be that filled. There we go. You would never know. I think I'm going to have to weld a stud. Yeah, I'm going to have to weld a stud right at the top and just pull out the top right over where I've actually just welded on. So this will tell you if the weld is good or not, because this is going to have to take a bit of abuse. Lovely. Lovely, lovely, lovely. Laddie wind. Right, just cut off that. Cut off that. Lovely. Now, that's ready for a nice light skim of fillers. But as you can see, right, what I've done is I've just got my DA, I've got 120 sandpaper on it, and I've just sanded the area that I'm going to fill. I actually still need to do just a bit down here. Now, if you was just doing this panel, I would advise you to put some really strong duct tape along this door so you don't hit the door. But as you can see, we've got to spray the whole side of this vehicle, so I'm not worried about hitting the door. But if you was, just put some good strong lines of duct tape in there just so you don't hit the door, because otherwise you're going to have to spray the door. So yeah, you need to sand it all back, as you can see. Give that a good rub, blow it off. Make sure you get all the dust off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill it. But what you need to make sure is when you mix the filler, a golf ball size of filler to a pea size of hardener. If you put too much hardener in, what you'll actually do is not only will it go off faster, it will also harden, and it will harden too much. Filler has to flex and stretch. If it's too hard, it just cracks, and it's just going to make an absolute nightmare. So what I'm going to do, I've got my filler mixed, and I'm not worried about getting it completely right in the first fill. And also, don't just work around the area you're on. You need to spread the filler out completely. Now, simple as that. I'm going to wait for that to dry, sand it off. Might have to put a little bit more in, but that's definitely a good 85% of it done. Once that's gone off, we'll turn the camera back on and we'll finish it. Now, as you can see, I've done a little bit of rubbing down, but you don't want to use your hand. What some people do is they use the hand to rub down. If you actually look at your hand, you'll see there's ridges. Your hand isn't completely flat. And if you use sandpaper like that, you will put ridges into the filler and you'll never ever get it straight. Even using a DA, so even if I use my DA on here, you can still push and just get horrible lines, dents and everything. The easiest way to get it nice and flat is to use some sort of block sander. Now, this is a big block sander with 80 grit sandpaper on, but it allows, as you can see, to use nice movements like that, and I can sand it all in one level, essentially. Now, like I said, you do have to be careful, because you can see I've scratched this door, but I'm replacing this door, so I don't care about this door. I've got to replace the 2 doors and the wings on it. So I'm not bothered about this door. But you do want to be kind of careful up here. As you can see, I have hit up here a little bit, but I'm going to sand that down. You just don't want to dig all the paint out if you don't need to. But one of the easiest ways to get your fillers nice and flat, you can use a guide coat. So this is just ordinary black spray paint, and if I just spray it like that, it'll take a few seconds to dry. And what this will actually allow me to do, as you can see it's now dry, is as I sand this, any spots where it's still black, you know they're low spots. So you keep sanding and sanding until you get rid of all your low spots. So as you can see, we have loads of low spots everywhere. But I know there should be enough, hopefully, well, maybe not enough in the first fill. I might have to put a light skim over it, but I'm definitely going to have most of this filled. So I'm just going to keep, with 80 grain sandpaper, I'm just going to keep sanding. There's no point me showing you. Once I've got it to where I have to stop with the 80 grit, I will then turn the camera back on and we'll continue with, we have to essentially get down to 320 because I need to prime this. And we need to get down to 320 for priming. So I'll show you that once I've spent about 4 billion hours sanding this down. Right, so I've sanded that down with 80. And to be fair, like I said, best tool in the box. I can feel that's now nice and smooth. But we've got a couple of problems. We've got some little pinpricks, some little air bubbles here, but we can get rid of them because we have to fill it again. I'll show you a technique once I fill it again, how to actually minimize them. You'll never get rid of them 100%, but you can minimize them. So what I need to do is I now need to put another skim, very light skim of fillers all the way across this. As you can remember, the dent was only really in the middle, but it's amazing how far you have to go out. Because once you get a dent in, it will bulge the metal out either side. So it's not just the actual dent you have to worry about, it's everything. So that now is good enough with 80 grit sandpaper. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean all this off. I'm going to blow it off with air, wipe it down and put another light skim of fillers over. This is going to be the last fill, and then I'm going to sand it down with 120, then possibly 240 and then 320, which is going to be my base coat for the actual, well, it's going to be good enough for lacquer. It's going to be good enough for undercoat then. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to I'm going to mix up another light thing of sand. I'm going to mix up some more fillers now and put a light sand on it. So a little trick to get rid of air bubbles is you kind of mix it on the panels. Now I have completely mixed this, but as you can see, I'm just going through, and this is going to kind of squeeze a lot of the air bubbles out. So I'm just kind of going over it and over it and over it again. And once I'm happy with it, I'll just make my last lines. Now, as we can see, just gone over and over, and that kind of pushes out all the air bubbles. Right, this now should be finished. I might just like to get all that done there. Like I said, I'm not worried about the other door because that's being replaced. Now, me kind of going over that would have taken a lot of the air bubbles out. A 120, 240, 320, primer, sorted. Another thing is you want to clean your scraper after every time. If you don't clean your scraper and you get lumps in it and cuts out, as you're trying to spread the fillers, you're going to get lumps and bumps and all sorts, and it's going to be a nightmare. Always clean your scrapers after. Now, I've 120'd it and I've 240'd it. Now, as regards all this here, there was big, huge scratches here, so normally you wouldn't kind of get all this here. You can just see down below here on the bumper. I'm basically spraying, well, I'm spraying the full side of this car, but I'm just showing you this. What I've done, I put some what's called filler putty. You can see it's red there. And what it does, the little pinholes it just fills. Now, I'm using high build primers, so if there is little pinholes, to be fair, the primer will sort it out. But what I'm going to do now is, just like I 240'd it, I'm going to do it by hand. So I've got a flat block. A piece of wood will do, anything as long as it's flat, as long as you don't use your fingers. And essentially what I'm going to do with the 320 is just go over my whole repair. The filler putty will stay where there's little holes. You can see the importance of covering a door or something. Hopefully you can see that. I don't know if the sun's in the way. I've completely cut into this door. I'm replacing it so I'm not bothered, but if you wasn't, you can see the damage you can do. So I've got to go over the whole area now by hand, and 320 is what I need for undercoating. Now what I'm going to do with this is, because I've got to basically repair all the doors, well, I've got to put new doors on, but they're going to need repair. I'm going to undercoat it all in one go. So I'm not going to show you the undercoat. But what I have to do, the bits where it's metal, you have to put etch prime on it. It gives the paint something to key to. So I'll show you that. What I'm going to do then is I'm just going to spray hand primer over this, just until it's going to take me another couple of days when I get time to put the doors on, and I'm going to undercoat everything at once. I will show that in another video, but at least you get the idea of how to fill something. So this, again, it just takes time. That's what painting does. That's why it's so expensive to do it. The longer you spend on it, the better it will be. So that's all I'm going to do. I'm just going to rub all this down by hand. Once I've done that, we'll etch primer it. I'm going to undercoat it just with spray can, just for the minute. But it'll give you an idea. And I'll do a separate video on actually undercoat, and I'll do a separate video on painting and buffing and all that sort of stuff. But this is going to kind of be part one to bodywork, you could say. So once I've got all this done by hand, we'll turn the camera back on. Right, so you can see how wide the repair has got. Ignore this bottom bit down here, because like I said, I had scratches and all sorts. I've got to do the bottom bumper as well. So, but you can see essentially how much, considering the dent was here, you can see how much we've gone either side. What I need to do next is, got some panel wipe. I just want to wipe down the whole area, get all my grease off from my fingers. It's amazing how much crap, even if your hands are clean, how much crap they actually do get off. I don't know if you can see that. Camera might not be showing that, but that is just covered in crap. And you want to get all that contaminant off before you paint. The actual painting, spraying is easy. It's preparation, it's like everything. The better prep it is, the better it's going to look, the longer it's going to last, and it's just going to be better. It really is as simple as that. But all I'm worried about at the minute is the metal bits that are showing. If you use the good quality paints, you will not have a problem. You can have problems with reaction. You can even have problems where the paint, as you can see, where it fades into another colour, it can react there. But in my experience, it tends to do it with the cheaper paint rather than the good. I'm going to be using 2-pack high build primer, so you have to add hardener in it, and essentially what it does, as you spray it, it builds out, and then you can rub it down, you can base coat it, lacquer it, and then you're done really. That's essentially it. So now I've done that, all the metal bits, I'm just using this etch primer. Now it's just out of a can, and I'm just going to spray on the metal bits. And essentially what it does, it gives the paint something to grip to. The high build primer I use, they do say you can spray over it, but I just don't like doing it. For the sake of a couple of minutes, I only buy the etch primer in a spray can. You can buy it and use it through the gun. I never do. You don't really use a lot. Well, I don't. As you can see, in this whole panel, we've only got a few areas that's gone through. So I've always found the stuff in the can works perfectly. And the secret with a can is just nice, thin coats. Don't try and don't hold it too long, and because as you can see, it's just going to run. And if you do that, not only will it run, it will react, because all the stuff comes to the top. Very nice, thin coats. Even if it takes you 10 coats to prime that, it's better than to try and just squirt it on. It's not going to take you 10 coats. And I know I'm going to get, oh, you should mask up everything, and technically I should, but I'm just showing you. I should really mask up this, but I'll get away with it for this. I know I will. So as you can see, that's going to be the first coat. Leave that 2 or 3 minutes, second coat, maybe 3 coats on it, just enough just to basically get rid of my metal. And I should, by rights, mask up this. But I'm replacing everything. So the doors I've got have new windows in, have new everything in. So I'm not worried about it. But yes, you should be masking up things like this. In the next video, when I actually come to spray this, I'll show you how to actually properly mask. Because masking up for undercoat is different to masking up for spraying. Completely different, and it's just different. It's just different. So as you can see, that is actually drying quite quickly. The sun's on that, and that's drying quite quickly. So right, so as you can see, it's as simple as that. Once I've done that, turn the camera back on, and well, we're more or less finished kind of part 1. Right, that's going to be part 1. I've just undercoated that by hand with just a normal spray can. It's single pack, it's crap, but I need to take this car outside tomorrow, and I didn't want all that to go rusty because I've got other jobs on, and I'll show you in a second, but I've got the whole side of this car to do. And what I like to do is I'm going to undercoat everything at once. This is just a quick measure to allow me to leave this outside tomorrow. It's not going to go rusty or bad, and I can kind of do it properly once I get it back in. Rather than me mixing up the undercoat, because it's very expensive, I don't want to waste it, so I can mix up and just spray everything at once. It's easier and better. So part 2 of this series, I will kind of show you how to mask up for undercoat and spray it. And then we'll do another part where we're doing masking up for painting, spraying it, lacquering. Then we'll do another part about buffing and all that, colour sanding. It's just, unfortunately, it's never endless. It's just, and it takes so long. But to give you an idea, I don't know if I showed it before, but you can see the whole side of the car is caved in. The hinges are all caved in, so I'm going to have to do all that. I've got the front bumpers to spray, the back bumpers, the far wing, so there's a lot to spray on this car. but this will just give you an idea of how to kind of fill. If I try and get you in at the side, I know you're not going to be able to see, but that panel, as you can see, looks perfect. No wavy, no nothing. It is lovely. We've still got the line. See, this line here. This line still goes up. It's nice and straight. We still have the top line, which is nice and straight. So that's it. Right, and just give you some idea of what it looks like now it's finished. As you can see, we sprayed the whole side of this. This was all caved in. But this was our repair here. Right, so that's it. As you could see from the video, we've got a lovely finish. Now that is just a gun finish. And what I mean by a gun finish is I haven't rubbed it down, I haven't buffed it up, I haven't polished it. There's a few little bits of just bits in the paint, but once we rub that down, we will take that out of it. It's a little bit orangey peely, but then it always is coming out of a gun. But this is where you have to be careful. I could flatten that down to an absolute mirror image, but believe it or not, if you flatten it down too much, you'll change the colour because the light reflects off the paint differently. If you look closely at any car, it's always slightly orangey peely. So there is a technique to use, but I'll show that in other videos, because if you do too good of a job, it will make it look like the paint's the wrong colour. So that's just a gun finish. It's going to be flattened, it's going to be buffed, it's going to be all that, but you get the idea. The panel's still nice and straight. There's no waves. I was just showing you that there's no waves in the panel, because I know if I didn't, I get some smart ass saying, oh, you didn't show us because I bet it was crap. So there was no waviness in the panel. The panel is dead straight. Once we spend another few hours buffing it, polishing it, it's going to look absolutely perfect. Loads more videos in this to come. Well, that's if you want. Let me know if you actually want me to do more of these type of videos. It is very difficult because it just takes so long to do anything to do with paint. But look, hope it helps. Thumbs up, subscribe and all that. Links to our GoFundMe project, to our Facebook, to our forum. That's it. So any questions, what I'm trying to get is everyone to go to my forum and ask questions there, because I need other mechanics to basically essentially help me with questions, and we can get like a frequently asked question. So if someone's having a problem with missing, well, then there'll be a load of answers on there to kind of help people, because at the minute I'm struggling to try and answer everyone's questions and run this place and do the videos and everything. It just takes so long. So if you can ask questions on my forum and sign up, and that goes to everybody. I need other mechanics, well mechanics, but other people that have done jobs and come across things, so when someone asks a question, other people can answer, and it just kind of take the pressure off me. But most importantly, don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.